19th at 2 p.m. in council chambers. So we will first of all do the adoption of some minutes. So the special open minutes of January 30th, the committee of the whole minutes of February the 4th, these are all 2019 by the way, and the regular open minutes of February the 4th. Could I please have a motion? That's feedback from me on there, so that's not good. Can you fix that? Ms. Van Vienen?
I'm just wondering if I turn this off and we won't hear.
Councillor Rhodes, we're getting feedback from our end, so we're going to try a couple things. If we lose you, we will make sure you get back on. Is that all right?
Sure, no problem at all.
Okay, thanks.
Let's try that if we need that away.
All right, let's see if that works. Because now that we've got these, we may not need that. Right?
Well, for Granicus, you need to have the.
Oh, I see.
But it might be close enough here that it will
Okay.
come through. Yeah.
Thank you. So could I please have a motion to adopt those three minutes? Thank you. Councillor Bennett, Councillor King, all in favor? All in favor? Thank you.
I'm in favor.
Thank you. Business arising from prior minutes, introduction of late items, nothing. Mrs. Hilson, okay. Could we have a motion to adopt the agenda of February the 19th, please? Councillor Harvey, Councillor King, all in favor? Thank you.
I'm in favor.
No delegations. First we have the Water District 8 and 9 financial accounts. This is the right one, okay. And to report on expenditures from accounts payable for water councillors and council approval. And Water District cash requirements to February the 19th are in the amount of $6,193.23. So could we have a motion to approve that, please? Thank you. Councillor Moreira, seconded. Councillor King, all in favor? Thank you.
I'm in favor.
Thank you. And the second item on the agenda is the Water District Rates and Regulations Amendment Bylaw, which we, Mr. Emenko, we're going to have to postpone. Is that
Yes, we'll
correct?
have to postpone that because we require both of the water councillors here. Perhaps Councilor Moreira can wait for a few minutes and maybe his colleague will show up.
Okay.
But
If he does, then we will come back to this
5
item.
or 10 minutes type of thing.
Thank you.
And then we can go back to it.
Okay. So the next item is the Okanagan Basin Water Board meeting highlights. This was interesting because I'm on the board. There were actually 4 of us that were not able to attend this meeting because of the problems between Summerland and Peachland, and this was on February the 7th. And so what we did was the OBWB set up a conference webinar. I can't quite, the town staff here are very good at getting me set up on that on the computer. Anyway, the 4 of us from this side of the slide ended up being part of the meeting, but we were just on the phone and on our computers. So there are several things in this report. Just wanted to point out that this OBWB sewage grant program over the last, since 1977, that's how long it's been going on, have given $65 million has been awarded. That's pretty amazing for sewer projects, and anybody can apply for that. The Make Water Work and Don't Move a Muscle programs are very, very important to the OBWB, and they have been working really well, and you see stickers for the back of cars. You see them at farmers markets, and they're working. The Make Water Work, which is a residential water conservation campaign, and the Don't Move a Muscle is hopefully in support of not having mussels in our lake, and we're just really hoping that with education and with people getting used to this, that we can continue to work on that. So the inspections of of stations and boats to make sure that we do not get mussels into our lake is an ongoing effort, and the OBWB will continue to work with us, with the province and the feds, to make sure that we do as much as we can to keep them out. We don't want them. Okay, everybody's okay with this report? I think we need a motion to accept the report. Thank you. Councillor
I'll
Bennett.
make that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Rhodes. Councillor Bennett, Councillor Rhodes, all in favor. Thank you.
I'm
And,
in favor.
good. The Delegation of Authority Bylaw, Ms. Van Vienen.
Thank you. The Community Charter provides the authority to Council to delegate some of its powers, duties, and functions under Section 154. The town currently does not have a Delegation of Authority bylaw. This has resulted in taking more time to deal with administrative operational issues as they require the authority of Council. Contemporary municipal operating systems have significant delegation to the CAO as the administrative leader in the organization. Delegation of Authority Bylaw number 1292-2019 addresses some administrative actions that could be completed in more timely fashion rather than awaiting a council meeting by delegating the authority to do so to the CAO or other designate. Council reviewed the bylaw at the Committee of the Whole meeting of February 4th, 2019. The following are some of the delegations in the bylaw: letters of support for nonprofit organizations, action against employees other than officers, expending funds over $150,000 for equipment or services that fall within the budgeted amount, land titles and right-of-way agreements, water and sewer agreements, license of occupation agreements, for example, Wine Capital Racing Association or Penticton Model Airplane Committee, renewal of leases and land tenures, dismissal of MTI tickets, waiving of facility or program fees, grant and aid to sport groups when of urgent nature, and administrative policies. Some authority for land use issues has previously been delegated through the Land Use Procedures Bylaw. It is important to note that the bylaw operates within the regulations relating to delegation in the Community Charter, and anyone who is impacted by decisions made within these delegations still has the ability to appeal a decision to Council. Options: 1, that Delegation of Authority Bylaw number 1292-2019 be read a first, second, and third time. 2, that it be sent back to staff for further changes. Or 3, that it be abandoned, and staff recommend option 1.
Thank you. Council, Councillor King.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Just want to make a note in your report there. You mentioned over 150. It actually should be under 150, and it's correct in the bylaw proposal.
Thank you.
Well, I didn't want everybody to think you got free reign to spend as much as you
Oh,
want.
ooh, I
You got to
didn't
keep it
even
about
catch that.
150.
Well, as long as it's in budget.
No. So, you're making the motion
Yeah.
to option
Yeah,
1?
Yes, I do.
Is there a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Harvey. Is there anyone who would like to speak to this motion? I'm going to just say something. I looked at this several times over the weekend, read this and reread this, and the only thing that I had a bit of a concern about was the 150,000. To me, that seemed a little bit high. However, I do understand that it would have to be the CAO that would approve this, and it would have to be for things that were already approved in our budget. So, is there anybody else that had any concerns about that? No? All right. Then I will ask for the vote on this for option number 1. All in favor? Against?
I'm in favor.
Thank you. Carried.
Don't ask me.
Are we okay?
It'll flow up.
All right. The next thing on the agenda is a zoning amendment bylaw, and that would be Ms. McKay.
Sorry. I don't know what Jim's shirt sounds like. Hi, Is that my on now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So this report is in consideration of zoning amendment bylaw number 1085.113, and it's pertaining to property located at 8322 Main Street, looking for third reading for the amending bylaw. Purpose of this report is request that council consider granting third reading to this zoning amendment bylaw, which, if adopted, will allow for site-specific retail cannabis store to be located on Main Street. Again, council will recall that the Liquor and Cannabis Regulation Branch of the province of BC will not issue a private retail license without local government support, and the provincial licensing process, coupled with a site-specific zoning provision, allows for a one-step process for consideration of cannabis sales in the town. Specifically, the comments received through the rezoning process are provided to the province for consideration during the provincial licensing process. Overview of the site context and proposal. The applicant is proposing to open a retail cannabis store, 8322 Main Street. There's a picture of it in the report. The properties remain vacant for a few years aside from occasional office use. With respect to policy context, in our zoning bylaw, the text amendment is required to, as retail cannabis sales is not permitted use within the town of Osoyoos. At the October 15, 2018 council meeting, council adopted the following section, which was added to the zoning bylaw, section 4.22. Council may approve a rezoning application for cannabis sales as a site-specific permitted use in the C1 downtown commercial zone, the C2 shopping center commercial zone, and the C3 highway commercial zone, with consideration of policy PLA-019 and any additional information council deems appropriate, including all or some of the information required through the provincial licensing program. Accordingly, the applicant submitted an application. As per section 10.4 of the OCP, Osoyoos has been fortunate to maintain its traditional downtown Main Street, which is a major attraction for residents and tourists alike. Accordingly, the downtown has its own unique zone and its own unique OCP land use designation. The proposed use of this property for a retail cannabis store is considered to be in conformance with the OCP. With respect to policy PLA-019, at their September 4th meeting, council adopted the attached policy, which is the cannabis retail sales site-specific rezoning considerations policy. The intent of the policy is to ensure that all rezoning proposals were reviewed based on the same criteria. So the subject property has on-site staff parking, which is identified in the photo below, entering off the lane. Customer parking is available at the Town of Osoyoos day use parking lot at the corner of 78th and 85th Street. An additional on-street parking is available on Main Street and 85th Avenue, as it is for customers of other downtown businesses. The subject property is not considered to be on a route that children take to school. A public hearing for this proposal was held on January 24th, 2019. The applicant spoke and provided council with information about her personal background and the intent to improve the building and be a good neighbor to existing businesses in the area. No members of the public spoke at this public hearing. The rationale for support is staff is of the opinion that the location is suitable for the proposed use and will enable a new business to be established in the town of Osoyoos. Implications to the community: promoting an attractive mix of complementary commercial uses which benefit the community and provide year-round service and support. Continues our aim to increase commercial growth in the area. Organizationally, if this bylaw receives third reading, it then would be placed on hold until such time as the town is notified by the province that the applicant has been successful in obtaining the necessary approvals from the province. The applicant will also need to comply with any additional requirements as may be required through the business license program. A development permit for form and character will be required for any changes made to the exterior building. And I have had questions about the facade, the windows, and just so you know, it's under the provincial program that they have to be, you can't see through them, right? So I don't want to say blacked out because that's not the look we're going for, but I have another idea.
Frosted? Would that
frosted, but we're looking for actually pictures, you know, that when you're inside the building you can see out of them, but you can't see in from the outside,
okay,
so that it's an attractive look from the outside rather than blacked out windows. So it's part of the development permit process. So the options before council today are that council gives third reading to the zoning bylaw amendment number 1085.113, Option 2, council defers third reading of the bylaw until a later date. Option 3, council requests further revisions to the bylaw before proceeding, or option 4, council recommends any other action deemed appropriate at this time. Now, staff are recommending option 1.
Thank you, Ms. McKay. Thank you. Is there, council, what would you like to
Chairman
do?
Coyle,
Yes, Councillor Rhodes.
I'd like to move option number 1 as it's worded in the report.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor King. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to this? Good. Then we will take a vote. All in favor of option number 1? And
I'm in favor.
Thank you very much. That carried. Thank you. And we're now on to budget. It says budget on here. Okay.
Sewer.
Yes, but I've got C budget, and then on the side, and then it says sewer. So I was looking in there. Okay, sewer rates and regulations bylaw. Mr. Zackel.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. So before council is Sewer Rates and Regulations Amendment Bylaw 1065.20 2019 for adoption. The town of Vesuvius operates a sewer system under the town's Sewer Rates and Regulations Bylaw 1065. This bylaw, or amending bylaw, was brought forward at the February 4th regular meeting of council and was given first 3 readings. Bylaw Amendment 1065.20 2019 is brought forward for council's consideration. Schedule A and B have been amended to reflect a 2% increase to sewer user fees for single-family residents and a 1.46% increase to the rural sewer user fees. The 2019 rate for single-family residents is $256.12 in town and $349.12 in the rural area. In comparison, the town of Oliver is charging $258 per single-family residence. The proposed sewer rates were discussed at the December 18th budget meeting. The increase in rates is expected to raise an additional $27,600 in revenues, and the funding available for sewer capital projects is $521,530. The list of sewer capital projects that we've got included for 2019 include our main lift station reconstruction, extension to the Starlight lift station, new pumps and electric kiosk at the golf course lift station, effluent pipe repair at the storage pond number 2, solar array expansion project, radio SCADA upgrades, xeriscaping on the Wren project, storm and sanitary sewer condition assessment, and golf course irrigation replacement. Implications for community is this is improved sewer infrastructure and improved lake water quality. Organizationally, there's no changes required. Under budget, increased revenues will assist with sewer capital projects. Significant dates bylaw needs to be adopted prior to the financial plan being adopted. Sustainability is continued effort for protecting the environment, reduction of the carbon footprint, and financial sustainability. So options before council: option 1, to adopt Sewer Rates and Regulations Amendment Bylaw 1065.20 2019. Option 2, to rescind third reading to Sewer Rates and Regulations Amendment Bylaw 1065.20 2019 and reread for a third time. And recommendation from staff is option number 1.
Thank you very much. Council? Anybody go ahead, Councillor Bennett.
Mayor, I would move we go to option 1.
Thank you.
Sewer rate.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Thank you.
I'll second that.
Councillor Harvey did. Thank you, Councillor Rhodes. And does anyone wish to speak to this? Okay, so we've been through the first 3 readings already, so this is just a matter of adoption. Okay, all in favor of this, option 1? Thank you very much, and
I'm in favor.
thank you. That was carried unanimously. And next is Mr. Zackel again, Water Rates and Regulations Amendment Bylaw.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. So this one is Water Rates and Regulations Amendment Bylaw 1242.11 2019, and this is for adoption. So this is the town of Vesuvius operates a town water system under the Water Rates and Regulations Bylaw 1242. Likewise, this amending bylaw was brought forward at the February 4th regular open meeting of council and was given first 3 readings. So before council, bylaw amendment 1242.11 2019 being brought forward for council's consideration. Schedule A and B, or Schedule A has been reflected or amended to reflect a 10.29% increase to water user fees for single-family residents, with a 2.95% increase to the other water user fees. The 2019 rate for a single-family residence is $359.25, and in comparison to the town of Oliver is charging $369.36 for a single-family residence. The proposed water rates were discussed at December 18th budget meeting as well. The increase in rates is expected to raise an additional $47,000 in revenues. The funding available for all water capital projects is $587,160. And the 2019 water capital projects include the water supply main gyro park to Starlight Inn, water treatment plant design, radio SCADA upgrades, twinning meter installation, develop a unidirectional water main flushing program, well number 8 pump and building upgrade, and rural area twinning for phase 2 and 3. So implications under community, improved water infrastructure and improved water quality. Organizationally, no changes required. Budget, increased revenues will assist with water capital projects. Significant dates, bylaw needs to be adopted prior to financial plan being adopted. Sustainability, continued effort for protecting the environment, reduction of carbon footprint, and financial sustainability, and ensuring the proper use of water supply. Options before council. Option 1, to adopt water rates and regulations amendment bylaw 1242.11 2019. Option 2, to rescind third reading, make further amendments to bylaw 1242.11 and reread for a third time. And the option before council from staff is option number 1.
Thank you very much. Council, would anybody like to make a motion on this?
I'll move option 1.
Thank you very much. Councillor Rhodes, is there a seconder? Councillor Harvey? This is the same thing. We've done first 3 readings before. This is just to adopt, so this has been discussed at length. I'll take a vote on this. Oh, sorry.
No,
Mr.
go ahead and take the vote. And
Okay. All in favor of option 1? Thank you very much.
I'm in favor.
Thank you.
Given that the water councillor has not shown up by this time, could I just ask for a motion to defer that item to the next meeting?
Yes. Thank you. Councillor Bennett. Councillor King. We are going to defer water matters number 2 to the March the 4th meeting. That's what we're voting on. All in favor?
Overtime.
Thank you.
I'm in favor.
You can vote on this too, I think, can't you?
Yes.
Councillor.
He knows.
And so that means that if you're voting in favor, that you'll be back here at the next meeting.
Take turns and move.
Thank you very much. All right. We will go on to the next item, which is the council meeting report for Councillor King. Is there somebody who would like to make a motion that we... Thank you. Councillor Harvey is moving that we approve this this for Councillor King. Councillor Bennett is seconding that. All in favor? Thank you.
I'm in favor.
Thank you. And next is the items requiring council direction from the financial plan. Mr. Zackel?
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. So at the January 30th, 2019 public open meeting of council, a number of submissions were heard by council. To move the financial plan forward, direction regarding these financial requests are required. So ultimately what I'll do is I'll read each one out and we'll deal with each one individually. So the first one, Cactus Jalopies. The request for funding is $11,000. Historically, Town Council supported this event and have contributed the following amounts over the years. 2013, $3,000, 2014, $4,200, 2015, $5,000, 2016, $5,000, 2017, $5,500, and 2018, $5,500. The Resort Municipality Initiative, RMI funding, has a component for special event funding that is available to assist with sponsoring events that will enhance visitor experience and create attractions. The expenditure of these funds is to support activities that will bring more people into local overnight accommodations that generate municipal and district tax funds and promote economic development in the town. Currently, $30,000 has been budgeted in the special events category. In 2018, the activities supported included Music in the Park for $15,000, Cactus Jalopies for $5,500, and Desert Park Exhibition Society for $3,500. Potential sources of funding is RMI fundings. It's increasing taxes by 0.44%. It's community service grant program, and it's also cut services or program and allocate funds. So options before council in this one is council funds all or a portion of the funding request based on identifying revenues from one of the above noted sources of funds, or option 2, council denies the request. Staff's recommendation is option 1. Administration recommends the funding a portion of Cactus Jalape's funding request of $11,000 in the amount of $7,500 from the RMI funds. Upon reviewing your financial statement, I feel that this event can still break even, as the projection was a surplus of $4,425 with receiving the $11,000 in grant funding.
Thank you. Is there anyone who would like to make a motion on this item? Councillor King.
I think their recommendation's a little high. I'd like to see that a little less. Make their recommendation at $6,000.
Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Bennett? Is there anyone who'd like to speak to that? I will.
Mayor McCordup,
Absolutely. Councillor Rhodes, you go ahead.
thank you, Mayor McCordup. I think I'll speak against this motion. I was actually kind of leaning the other way, more to the $11,000 mark. I think it's very, very evident that this event is well attended by many, many people in our community, and lots of visitors from all over Western Canada and the Northwest United States. It promotes the Suyas with the public and all of those people in the car industry that are so important to make this thing fly. And it's put together by a real awesome group of volunteers, and those volunteers all work tirelessly and make this such a great weekend event, So, yeah, I won't support that level. I would definitely like to see it a little bit higher, even higher than the recommended amount of $7,500.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to speak to this as well. I wouldn't support what the motion is. What I would be prepared to support would be $6,500, and my reasoning for that is that the extreme motorcycle jumping has on the budget a budget of $6,500. And in the past, RMI funding has supported the motorcycle jumping. I would feel comfortable with that. The other concern that I have about offering more money is that one of the other items on here is a special appearance of some people who I assume have been invited to attend this, and that is, according to their budget, is $20,000. And my thinking is that it would be in town's best interest to support an event, particularly the motorcycle jumping, because we have in the past, and not necessarily supporting giving the money to them to use for whatever cause that they want, including $20,000 as being a fairly large sum of money to bring in, and I'm not sure who the people are, but they're obviously experienced in doing this. So my suggestion is that I could support $6,500, and because that was what the amount of the expense was in there. So is there anyone else who would like to speak to this? Or go ahead, Councillor King.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't know if I could make a friendly amendment. I could support up to $6,500 from the $6,000 I mentioned. I guess I just look at comparing what we give for Canada Day. To me is 4 times as large for relatively the same type of money. So again,
Okay.
I just leave it at that.
So are you making a friendly
Can I do that?
Yeah, I would.
Councillor
As long as
Bennett,
Councillor
would you
Bennett agrees.
agree to that?
Yeah.
You have to, okay, as
Yeah.
the seconder? Okay, so is there anyone else who'd like to speak to this particular issue? All right, we're going to take a vote on this. The motion is now to support it to the amount of $6,500 for the motorcycle. Is that correct? All in favor? Thank you. Against?
I'm opposed.
Thank you. So that was carried. The Suyas Lake Paddle Club, number 2.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. So the next one was a presentation made by Wendy Barlow, President of the Osoyoos Lake Paddle Club. The request for funding was $4,000 to $5,000 to offset the cost to hire a race director for their second annual Dragon Boat Festival. Potential source of funding that can be used for this as well is RMI funds, increasing taxes by 0.16 to 0.20%, community service grant programs, or cutting service and programs and allocating the funds. Options before council. Council funds all or a portion of the funding request based on the identifying revenues from the above, one of the above noted sources of funds, or option 2, council denies the request. Recommendation from staff on this one is administration recommends funding the request of $5,000 from RMI funds.
Council, anybody like to make a motion on this one? Yes, go ahead.
As with the previous item, potential sources includes community service grant programs. So if these bodies were to apply for community service grants, would that offset amounts approved here, or the amounts approved here are just, once it's done, it's done?
I think if any RMI funding was allocated towards this, the committee would look at what they've already received from the town in funding. And I think that our opportunity for community grant funding would be limited due to already receiving funding through the RMI program.
Yeah.
So it isn't one or the other, either RMI funds or community grant. It could be both?
It could be both. It fits all those categories. It's one of those things that it just gives council the option in RMI funding for community activities, and this one really does also fit, like the Cactus Jalopy, so that's why we're recommending RMI funding.
Councillor King?
Yeah, I'll put a motion on the floor that I recommend $5,000 go to the Osoyoos Lake Paddle Club. The presentation they made, I feel that this event could be another major event in our town, and it just needs a solid person to kind of bring the components together.
Is there a seconder? Councillor Bennett?
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
I'd just like to speak for the motion, just based that I know it's a lot of good volunteers that put a lot of time in there as well, and it's a volunteer position, and basically I see what's happened in other communities like Vernon and Penticton, the size that they've become and what it's done for their communities, and I'd like to see us give the Osoyoos a chance as well.
Okay, thank you. Well, for one thing, we do not have a shortage of in this town is volunteers. We have them all sitting here, too, in the audience. Volunteers in this town are the lifeblood of this community, so I'm sure we all know that. So the motion is that we would go with option 1, that RMI funds in the amount of $5,000 would be provided. All in favor?
I'm in favor.
Thank you very much. Next.
Okay,
Mr.
so
Zackel, the Osoyoos Elks Lodge.
That's correct. So we had a presentation made by Mr. Earl Krushelnicki of the Osoyoos Elks Lodge. The request for funding is $20,000 in money and or in kind to assist with the Roots and Blues Festival. Again, potential sources of funding is RMI funding, increasing taxes by 0.79%, community service grant programs, waiving of rental fees at the Sonora Center, and cutting service or programs and allocating funds. Options for council. Council funds all or a portion of the funding request based on identifying revenues from one of the above noted sources of funds, or council denies the request. So the recommendation for this one from staff was administration recommends partially funding the request in the amount of $10,000 from RMI funds and make in-kind contribution of waiving any rental fees from the Sonora Center for this event.
Thank you. Anyone want to go ahead, Councillor King?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thanks. I'll actually speak against this funding. I felt the gentleman that came didn't really have a complete budget. It was kind of this might happen or that might happen. I could support, though, if this event was to go ahead, waiving the rental fees at Sonora Center for the event.
Is there?
I'll second that.
Thank you very much. So that's moved and seconded. So just no funds, but just the, and I'm going to speak to that as well. When I read this, I was a little bit concerned about $20,000 that was asked for this. I did not see a budget for it. I believe Mr. Grushelnicki said that he had quickly put this together and brought it to council. I'm not sure whether it was supported by all the members of the Elks, and I think that there needs to be a little bit more planning in this before we provide $10,000 for this event. So I'm not sure whether at some point in the future, 6 months down the road, if the Elks did get things put together a little better, could we come back and look at this, or would this have to be done next year? Mr. Romanko, can you answer that?
The preference is that, we have our budget tied together, but certainly in this case with resort municipality funding, we do have $30,000 budgeted, and in the past, council has taken in projects for consideration, and I agree with the direction that council is going, that certainly having a tight budget, and I know that the individual involved is looking at tightening up that budget with his travels with lining up musicians. So perhaps a more formal presentation at a later time will be looked on more favorably.
Thank you. That's very helpful. So we have a motion on the floor that we would not give any money at this time, but we would, if it was glasses on, if it was to go ahead, that we would waive the rental fees from the Sonora Center for this event. Am I correct in that? Is that what the motion says? Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. All in favor? Thank you.
I'm in favor.
Thank you very much. And next is the lawn bowling presentation. Mr.
Thank you.
Zackel.
So a presentation was made by Michael Ryan of the Osceola Lawn Bowling Club to assist with funding the installation of lights at the lawn bowling green, estimated in the amount of $20,000. Potential sources of funding for this is increasing taxes by 0.79%, community service grant programs, looking for additional grant programs, options before council. Council funds all or a portion of the funding request based on identifying revenues from the above noted sources of funds. Council directs the Osceola Lawn Bowling Club to apply under the Community Service Grant Program and requests that the Director of Community Service assist in making a New Horizons grant application, or option 3, council denies the request. And recommendation at this point in time was option number 3. Administration recommends that this request be denied at this time. However, the additional information is required to be able to appropriately proceed. The Osceola Lawn Bowling Club should obtain actual costing for the light project. Once this information is obtained, a couple of funding sources could be applied for first before any consideration of town funds. The funding opportunities include Fortis BC and the New Horizons grant. The Director of Community Services will be able to assist with the lawn bowling group with the New Horizons grant application. And once grant funding sources and costing have been obtained, the group should make an application through the Community Grant Service Program. So that was the recommendation from Councilor Merlin.
Thank you very much. Councillor King.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A question to Mr. Davis. With that New Horizons grant, don't they need some seed funding when they apply for that grant?
Sometimes they do, depending on the level of service that they want.
Okay. Would somebody like to make a motion on this? Councillor King.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we actually give them $2,500 to help support the grant application.
Is there a seconder for that?
I'll second that motion, and if I could speak to it.
Absolutely.
I think that with all the stuff we're doing down around the park and stuff, that possibly down the road, part of the lighting might be part of the park enhancements. That could be also looked at as part of the grant application.
So you're supporting this? You're in favor? Okay. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak to this motion?
If I could just...
Yes. Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam McCordoff. Do we know if this is what kind of grant this is? Would it be one that would be kind of proportioned out, or maybe like 80-20 or 75-25% it's a little bit premature to be putting money aside for a grant opportunity that we don't even know much about. So just wondering if that would be pertinent towards this motion at all.
Thank you. Are you asking Mr. Davis or Mr. Zackel? Is there someone who would like to answer? Oh,
Doesn't matter whoever has an answer, if there is
Okay.
one.
I'm not sure.
okay. Councillor Harvey and then Councillor King.
Yeah, I agree with Councillor Rhodes. Much like the previous item that we declined to provide any funding for lack of budget, this one is even less information. So I think, for sure, bring it back. The curling or the lawn bowling club ought to be able to come to us at any time, but I think at this time, putting money towards it is not appropriate.
Okay. Councillor King.
Well, thank you, Madam Mayor. I think that New Horizons grant has got a deadline of March 31st, correct? Because I have applied for it before, I guess. I guess it would just, if they needed some money to support a grant, maybe I could reword their recommendation or proposal. And
That
the money would have to be used if needed to support a grant application.
As I recall, when ex-councillor Ryan spoke, this was something that they were planning for in the future, and it wasn't necessarily that crucial to have this done this year. So, am I right in that? That was my recommendation, or that was my recall, that it was something that they wanted in the future, and that I don't think they would be concerned about having this postponed until maybe they had a little more information. Sorry, Mr. Romanko?
The other thing I'm looking at is whatever the number is, whether it's $2,500 or is the source of the funds. I'm looking at Director Zackel for some guidance here, and perhaps the community service grant application would give them more time to pull some information together and have it viewed within that program, because right now we don't have a pot of money for it to come out of except community service grants.
We only have 2 more days to
Or
apply for
increase.
community service grants.
Well, then,
The options before council are to increase taxes by 0.79%. That's one option. Or utilizing community service grant funding. That's another option. Or cutting services to pay for it. So,
Councillor King?
Madam Mayor, Mr. Zackel, how much have we kind of put forward out of the 30,000 as we talk right now?
this does not fit the RMI program.
Okay.
Okay.
That's why it's not on there as a suggestion. Yeah.
But we put 30,000 aside for.
In our RMI funding, 30,000 is the number that we've got for that.
And just how much have we passed today?
Oh my goodness,
You'll figure it out.
11.5. Yeah, so we under the community grant funding or the RMI funding, we've got lots.
Yeah.
The community service grant funding, none of that's been utilized yet because I don't believe the committee's met on that yet.
Okay.
Excuse me, Mr. Zackel, I thought we had 15,000 was going to music in the park.
That might have been committed already as well then.
some of that was committed from last year.
Okay.
But I'm wondering if that is out of the 30,000 of this year's budget.
There would be
Because
a
it is
portion
this
of
year.
that then, yes.
So, you're right. So we have spent a lot of that.
Yeah.
So could you tell me again what the motion is, please, Mrs. Hilson?
So the motion is to fund $2,500, and if it's required, to support the application for the New Horizons grant.
Okay, well, let's take a vote on that one first. All in favor? Councillor Rhodes, I'm going to ask for...
I'm opposed.
All right, and opposed. So that was defeated.
Opposed.
Thank you. Is there another motion that anybody would like to put forward?
Mayor McCorduck?
Yes. Go ahead, Councillor Rhodes.
I'll make a motion to support the staff recommendation, and it's quite wordy in there. We could probably cut it down a little bit, but I'd like to make that motion based on that wording.
Thank you very much. Is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor Harvey. So that would be that it would be denied at this time. However, they were able to get more information and help with applying for grants. So, all in favor of the recommended motion, option 3?
I'm in favor.
Thank you very much. Against? Sorry. You're against? Yeah, okay, fair enough. Thank you. Councillor Bennett is against and for. Thank you very much. Well, thank you for looking after all of those, Mr. Zackel. Mr. Zackel's a whiz with his calculator, and actually he has one of those. He used to have one of those old-fashioned machines that has a, you know, the roll of paper, but he didn't bring that to the last budget meeting. We were horrified. So you're depending on this? I'd rather depend on your old one. Okay, next item on the agenda is the request for funding from the Osoyoos Airport Development Society. Mr. Zackel.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. And Barry, you may be able to help me with this one after I read the report. So the Osoyoos Airport Development Society has been searching out for available grants to assist with the development of the airport and surrounding areas. The Osoyoos Airport Development Society was successful in obtaining a grant in the amount of $90,000 for a $120,000 project to develop a runway extension and apron taxiway improvement project at the Osoyoos Airport. For the Society to be able to proceed with this project, they need to raise the remaining $30,000. As mentioned in the attached letter from Mr. Glenn Harris, President of the Osoyoos Airport Development Society, is the ask that Town Council support this project with funding in the amount of $15,000. The remaining funding would be requested from the other stakeholders, being the RDOS, the ODSAS, and Destination Osoyoos and OIB. In addition, the Society is also making a further grant application for 2020 for a $125,000 project for further development at the airport. With the improvements to the airport, the Society feels that there will be an annual source of revenue that will assist with the upkeep and maintenance of the airstrip. If Council wishes to consider funding of this request, Council can utilize one or more of these options: increasing taxes by 0.59% for 2019, or 0.62% for 2020, or utilizing reserves, which would be the recommended option if Council wishes to fund. Implications on our community: improved amenity for the town of Osoyoos. Organizationally, nothing. Under budget, funding 12.5% of the $120,000 project in the amount of $15,000 for 2019, and funding 12.5% of the $125,000 project in the amount of $15,625 for 2020. Under significant dates, funding needs to be secured before Society can move forward with their project. Options before Council: Option 1, to fund the Osoyoos Airport Development Society request for $15,000 for 2019 and $15,625 if grant funding is obtained for 2020 by increasing taxes. Option 2, to fund the Osoyoos Airport Development Society request of $15,000 for 2019 and $15,625 if grant funding is obtained for the 2020 from reserves, on the condition that the development plans are approved by Council. Option 3, to fund only the 2019 request of $15,000 from taxes, and Option 4, to fund the 2019 amount, $15,000, only from reserves. So the recommendation from staff was option number 2, with the Osoyoos Airport Development Society being able to utilize grant funding and securing funding from the RDOS, ODAS, DO, and OIB. The town will be able to improve the airport for a 12.5% of what the total cost would be. So the recommendation on option 2 is funding $15,000 from 2019, $15,625 for 2020 from reserves, on the condition that all the development plans are approved by Council first.
Thank you. Mr. Remenko, you didn't have anything to say. Okay. Councillor King.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I guess if my memory strikes me right, they submitted this grant for $90,000 about 8 months ago, and I thought at that time all the partners come together with some small funding to get the 120, and they were to come up with that extra 30. And now they're coming back to us to kind of pay for half of that 30.
I believe that was a 2018 grant that they
Yeah.
received. So that project, the fencing and all of that has been done. The town has given their portion. I believe it was $10,000 towards that. The other parties were involved and paid their portion as well. So right now, Mr. Harris is under the belief that the other funding partners will contribute their portions still. But I just didn't have that information in front of me as far as what they...
I guess I just look at the material you provided. This grant was back June 22nd, 2019.
Yep.
So-
And this one wasn't approved. This one wasn't approved when we funded, like last year, we only funded 2018's grant
Yeah.
only. So they brought forward their other one this year to say they're ready.
Mr. Manko.
So my understanding is that we're talking about 3 grants,
Yeah.
as Director Zacco makes reference to. The second one for 2019, apparently there was money left over in the provincial coffers.
Yes.
So then they came forward to the Airport Society and asked them if they wanted to some additional money. So Glenn Harris said yes. So that's what the 2019 grant is this extra money from the 2018 provincial revenues. And then again, they're looking forward to 2020. Now, we don't know specifically what they're planning to do, and so that's why the rider on the motion, we're asking that council has to approve those plans prior to any projects being approved. Certainly subject to the letter that's included in the package, there's this discussion in and around working on the governance model, which will be important. However, there's the other item to consider is that this still is a public asset, and we will have to take a look at the improvements being done through our processes as opposed to through the society's processes. The feeling is that being it's still a public asset, that we should be managing the capital improvements.
Councillor King?
Yeah, thank you. One more question. Mr. Zacco,
Oh, hang on, Councillor King first, then you, Councillor Rhodes.
are we kind of allowed to kind of put money aside out of the 220 budget like you're proposing, or am I reading it wrong?
So what I would do is under a 5-year financial plan is I would basically have it put in there and the sources of funding being
It means
reserved.
we're not okay in it, we're just kind of putting
Yeah.
it aside.
It's still subject to council's approval, definitely.
Thank you. I was thinking exactly the same thing. Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mayor McCordup. Well, I would like to make a motion based on the staff recommendation, which is number 2, but before doing that, I just need some clarity on the partners that are going to contribute to this overall funding. Does it require 100% buy-in by them? What if one of the partners, just speculating, pulls out or doesn't want to contribute? How would that work for us if we don't put that wording into the actual recommended motion?
Thank you. I'm going to let Mr. Manko answer that.
My sense is that they'll, even if a partner does not buy in, they would have to make up that funds through the other partners. For example, Destination Osoyoos is listed as a partner, and they very clearly have expressed to us that they don't have any more money for these types of things. This is they're in the marketing business. So my sense is that the contributing partners would then have to make up the share, to make up that 12.5%.
Do you think it would be appropriate for us to put that wording into our recommendation or our motion? If one of them pulls out, it could add a whole dynamic and cause us to put more money in. And I'd like to solidify those amounts before we, move forward with it.
My sense is that the council would be identifying a very specific amount. If the ask is for $15,625 and council allocates that money, that's all they're going to get. And it's up to them to find the rest of the money from the other partners.
So 15,000 from this
Okay.
year, and then an increase. Okay, Councillor Rhodes, go ahead.
Fair enough. Well, I'll make that motion based on that wording. I guess I feel a little uncomfortable with it, but I can certainly see that it would be restricted to those amounts.
Okay. Councillor King, are you seconding
Yeah, I'll
that? or-
second it, but can
Okay.
you read it again, just so we understand it?
It's option number 2,
No,
am I
it's
correct?
quite not number 2, it's been
Okay.
changed.
The council funds the Osoyoos Airport Development Society request for $15,000 in 2019 and $15,625 if grant funding is obtained for the 2020 from reserves under condition that all development plans are approved by council. So the 15,000 should come out of reserves in 2019. So
So we're adding that 15,000 out of reserves for 2019, plus the amount next year is also coming out of reserves.
out of reserves, and it'll be in our 5-year capital plan, which again will have to be approved by council, but it'll provide an indication potentially of support.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded that we go with option 2. All in favor? Thank
I'm in
you.
favor.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Zackel. Ms. Van Vienen, substance and use policy and leave of absence.
Substance abuse.
Sorry, substance use, I think. Did I say abuse? Well, one's the same as the other, maybe. Go ahead.
Thank you. It is good practice to establish policies in an organization to address specific issues. With the legalization of cannabis in 2018, it was determined that the town was lacking in a substance use policy. As part of the ongoing policy development, a new leave of absence policy was also drafted to deal with requests for leave without pay and effects on benefits and staffing. The substance use policy addresses alcohol, prescription drugs, illegal drugs, and cannabis. It sets out the requirements of the employee for being fit for work and conduct, and also addresses treatment and treatment assistance. The policy addresses return to work following treatment and the responsibility of all employees to report contradictions to the policy, especially when it poses an immediate threat to the safety or health of an employee, the public, or damage to any property. The leave of absence policy is being established to develop clear understanding of what the expectations are if an employee requests leave without pay. This policy allows for up to 10 days in a calendar year of leave without pay, with benefits being continued, and upon approval of the CAO, more than 10 days in a calendar year may be approved, with the employee paying the employer's share of benefits subject to the policies of the carrier. Implications to the community: none. Organizationally, clear understanding of substance use requirements and requests for leave without pay. Budget: none. No significant dates. And sustainability: ensuring a safe workplace for all employees. Options, and there's going to be a separate resolution required for both policies. So 1, that substance use policy HR 28 be approved, or that 2, staff review and make changes to substance use policy HR 028. And then for the leave of absence, that leave of absence policy HR 29 be approved, or that staff review and make changes to leave of absence policy HR 29. And staff recommends options 1 and 3. These policies have been shared with the union, and there were no objections or concerns.
Thank you very much. Council, anybody like to? Councillor Bennett?
Thank you, Mayor Ricardo. I'd like to move that we go with options 1 and 3. We discussed this quite a bit in other
Can
meetings.
we go with option 1 first? We have to make
Oh,
separate
okay,
motions.
option 1,
So
yeah.
option 1. So that would be the substance use or abuse policy, and that would be option 1. And it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Thank
I'm in
you.
favor.
Thank you. And is there someone who'd like to talk about the leave of absence policy? Councillor King?
Yeah, I'll move option 3, leave of absence policy HR-029 be approved.
And Councillor Rhodes, are you seconding that?
I will second that.
Thank you. All in favor of that, option 3. Thank you very much, Ms. Van Vienen.
I'm in favor.
Okay, next is the Wine Country Racing Association Airport Use Agreement. Ms. Van Vienen.
Thank you. The town has provided a license to use the airport to Wine Country Racing Association, or WCRA, for the past several years for the purposes of using the runway for drag racing events. WCRA has requested use of the airport again in 2019 for the following dates: May 4th and 5th, June 1st and 2nd, June 15th and 16th, September 7th and 8th, and then the following, Mr. Dell called me today and said he had the wrong dates on there. It's actually September 21st and 22nd, so that'll be amended in the agreement as well, and October 5th and 6th. This is one more weekend than in the previous few years, but the same amount as when this agreement was first issued. The October dates are being requested for a rain-out day and/or a club-only event. A copy of the license to use for 2019 is attached for council approval. The terms and conditions are the same as in previous years, with the exception of the date changes from the previous years, but still on Saturdays and Sundays. There's one additional weekend than in 2018. And parking requirements have changed now that all the lots are sold at the airport, and the WCRA must make arrangements with the individual owners for use of those lots or work with the town for alternatives. Implications to the community: increase in tourism visitors to the community during racing day events, possible noise to surrounding area, organizationally monitoring of the agreement and airport conditions, budget revenue based on 33% share of the net ticket sales and participant fees, sustainability, there are no issues. This agreement required renewal from year to year. Options: one, that council approve the license to use to Wine Country Racing Association for 2019 as attached, and that the town signatories be authorized to sign. 2, that the attached agreement be amended by staff. Or 3, that the request to use the airport be denied. And staff recommend option 1 with the change to the date of September 21st and 22nd.
Thank you. Council, anybody like to make a motion on this? Councillor Harvey? Yes. Councillor Harvey has moved this. Are you seconding it, Councillor Rhodes?
Yes, I'll second that.
Thank you. And would you like? You're okay. You don't need to speak to it. No. Councillor Rhodes, did you want to speak to this?
No, not at all.
Oh, okay. I thought that's what you wanted. Okay, thank you. I noticed that the second date on here coincides with the Cactus Jalopies, so I'm sure that was included in their weekend plans. Okay. So the motion is to go with option 1. All in favor? Thank you.
I'm in favor.
Thank you very much. And now, Mr. Dinwoody, we're all lining up to have our tires changed, so would you like to tell us about this, please?
Hard to believe you're asking for so little money.
The town of Osoyo's equipment fleet consists of over 20 vehicles which require their tires to be seasonally changed. Summer tires to winter, and winter and then back to summer.
The existing tire changing machine is over 40 years old and has reached the end of its service life. The current rate for having a commercial tire shop change tires from summer to winter and vice versa is $25 per tire. Therefore, each vehicle would cost the town $100 twice a year to have this service performed, and the scheduling of this service would be dependent upon the commercial tire shop's work volume. The cost of commercial business changing fleet tire seasonally is 20 vehicles times 100 vehicles twice a year, $4,000. The cost of the new Hunter TCX51E tabletop tire changing machine is $9,732.99 plus taxes. The implication for the community is reduced downtime for the town fleet vehicles should result in improved service for the community. Organizationally, improved efficiency and safety in equipping our fleet with proper tires. Budget-wise, Town Council gave initial approval to this project at the December 18, 2018 capital budget meeting for $10,000. In significant dates, in order to have this machine available to switch our fleet from winter to summer tires, it is recommended that this machine be purchased prior to March 31st, 2019, and sustainability, there are no issues. The options before Town Council is that Town Council gives pre-budget approval for the purchase of the new tire changing machine. Option number 2 is that Town Council does not give pre-budget approval for the purchase of the new tire changing machine, and this project becomes part of the 2019 capital budget approval process. And option number 3 is that Town Council requests additional information prior to making a decision. The recommendation from staff is that Town Council adopt option number 1.
Thank you very much. Anybody like to make a motion on this? Councillor King?
Yeah, I'll move option number 1. And I have a question.
And you're seconding
I'll
that?
second that.
Thank you. Councillor Bennett seconded that. Thank you. And Councillor King, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Is there special training that has to go along with this machine, or?
Our mechanic has that training, so he knows how to properly use the machine. And I just also like to note that all of our vehicles are two-wheel drive vehicles, and that's why we make sure that we put the best tires we can on them during the seasons to make it more to make them safer on the roads and stuff like that. We don't have any 4x4s.
To save us money. No, that's a good
Yeah.
idea, but I just want to make sure you get training. You don't
Yeah,
figure it
our
out.
mechanic has the proper training to run the machine.
Thank you. Anything else? All right, we're going to call a question. All in favor of option 1?
I'm in favor.
Thank you. Councillor King, are you in favor of that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry, I didn't see your hand up.
Sorry, yeah.
Thank you. And next is Mr. Davis, Community Service Grants, Council appointment.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In the past, the community service grants have been reviewed by a committee consisting of myself and 2 members of council. The Community Services Grant Program has been advertised on the town's website and in the local newspaper. The deadline for grant submission is February 22nd, 2019, which is this Friday. Once this deadline has been reached, the committee will review the submissions and make a recommendation to the Committee of the Whole meeting. In terms of implications for the community, having council and staff representation on the committee will be beneficial for all applicants and give staff and council a closer, in-depth look at the applicants and the needs of the community. Organizational, staff time to review and prepare the report to council. There's a $70,000 budget for the grant program for 2019. The deadline is this Friday, February 22nd, 2019. And sustainability. Groups and nonprofit organizations have made applications that follow sustainable practices for current and future events and projects. The options for council: option 1, for council to appoint 2 members of council to review the annual community service grant submissions with the Director of Community Services. This appointment will be for the remainder of the current council term. Option 2, for council to appoint a different number of council members. Or option 3, for council not to appoint any members of council at this time. And staff is recommending option number 1. The addition of a screening committee made up of staff and council to the community service grant policy will assist in streamlining the application process.
Thank you very much. Councillor Rhodes? Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Member Kordoff. I'd like to move option number 1, and I'm not sure if this is the right wording, but I would like to nominate Councillor King and Councillor Harvey to be considered for those positions.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that?
I'll second.
Thank you. Councillor Bennett is happy to second that. Yes, Councillor Harvey.
What's the timeline in terms of the review and the presentation of the report?
He's going on holiday.
Because I'm going to be away for most of the month of March.
Usually we'll meet, we'll review the applicants, and if it's no disagreements, arguments, and everything falls into place, it'll go right to the Committee of the Whole. So probably the middle of March, maybe the second meeting that it will go, and then possibly the first meeting in April that we would do check presentations.
Okay, I'm only available to work this year on the review next week. So that's why I was asking about timeline.
Okay.
Yes, he's going on holiday in the month of March. Would it make more sense then to change it and have, it's not a large meeting, is it? It doesn't take long. So,
Even by
Do it next
phone?
week?
Yeah, even by phone.
Yeah, I won't be available.
Okay.
okay, so would, Councillor Rhodes, are you agreeable to adjusting this since Councillor Harvey is not available in March to have Councillor King and Councillor Bennett?
Sure, I could go with that change. I would like to mention that, in spite of the fact that there's some pretty hardcore decisions that have to be made, this is a real good opportunity to do something that I've always felt is a feel-good thing. We have a fairly large budget in there, and we give the money away to deserving people and deserving groups and that type of thing, and it's a good, feel-good thing, but no, I don't have any objection to the change.
Thank you, and I totally agree with you. This is one of those fun things that you feel good about. So, Councillor Rhodes made that, you seconded it? Are you okay with seconding yourself in there? All right, so, and if need be, if next year we want to switch, we can do that, or do we have to bring it back to council?
The recommendation was for the
For
remainder
the
of
4
councils?
years, yeah. All right. We'll get Councillor Harvey, we'll get you on something else. So, all in favor of the motion of Councillor King and Councillor Bennett on this committee?
I'm in favor.
Thank you very much. Okay. Next is the, I suppose that's why all these guys are sitting here, is it? Yeah.
They're just keeping warm.
They're just here to listen to what we have to say. Okay. Mr. Davis, are you going to take this one on the Desert Park elevator?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay.
At the December 17th meeting of council, staff was given direction to provide more information on total costs associated with installing an elevator at Desert Park, or if the project could be moved to the Sun Bowl Arena and Curling Club. Staff secured a grant through Enabling Accessibility of $32,500 to install the elevator at Desert Park. The project was tendered and council awarded the project to Kirkwood Elevators. Following the award of the contract, Kirkwood requested additional funds after they made a site visit. The costs at that time were the elevator purchase of $40,500, engineering costs approximately $3,300, electrical of approximately $2,700, and at that time we were indicated that we had to develop a 14-foot structurally engineered wall as per new drawing, and that was estimated at $10,000 to $15,000. So in total, we were looking at $56,500 to $61,500, depending on the estimated numbers. Staff has been researching other options and have received the attached quote from Oakmont Elevator that would be more cost-effective. These costs included the elevator purchase of approximately $28,000, electrical at $2,700, concrete pad and minor alterations to accommodate the unit and relocate the existing staircase approximately $5,000. We would not need to construct a structural engineer support wall. The total cost of this would be $35,700. Staff has met with the Desert Park Exhibition Society, and they are still interested in doing events at Desert Park. They have no interest in continuing with the larger medieval fair event as their volunteer base is not sufficient. The Society is still planning to promote Desert Park and bring other similar events to the venue. However, they will be smaller. Having this area accessible is important. However, at this point in time, there are no planned events at Desert Park for 2019. Staff also discussed the elevator with the co-chair of the Accessibility and Age-Friendly Committee. He feels that this venue is still a very high priority, as events will be organized in the future, and it has been impossible to take part in anything in the past. At the last meeting of the Accessibility and Age-Friendly Committee, the unanimous decision was made indicating that the elevator lift at Desert Park is still the most important facility. The International Curling Club also has a need to improve accessibility in their venue. Staff met with them to discuss installing an incline platform lift for stairways at the Curling Club or at the Sun Bowl Arena. A lift could not be installed at the Curling Club due to the low clearance and lack of support walls. An incline platform lift could be installed on the Sun Bowl Arena side that would benefit both facilities. The Curling Club has a member who uses a wheelchair, and this person would benefit directly from this addition. Having both areas accessible will be the ultimate goal. The Sun Bowl Arena and Curling Club are major facilities that are used extensively in the community. Having these areas accessible will make these facilities second to none. Staff received a quote from Graventia Lift for an incline platform lift up the stairs to the mezzanine at the Sun Bowl Arena. The costs include the platform lift purchase at around $32,500, minor alterations and wall backing around $5,000, and the electrical at $2,500 for a total cost of $40,000. The grant source has also indicated that we have flexibility on this project as long as we provide the required information so they can officially approve a new project or keep with the original plan. This may include a change of venue, dates, or cost. There is no guarantee that increased funding will be granted, as staff may have to reapply. In terms of implications for the community, making all venues accessible is important. We have made a commitment to follow through on the Accessibility and Age-Friendly Committee. People require the service not only for access, but also to be part of events as volunteers and everyday use. In terms of organization, staff will be the contact person. The budget of $50,000 that was carried over from 2018, this includes a grant for $32,500, and this may change depending on council's decision. Significant dates, ultimately the deadline for this grant was originally set for February 28th, but we have received notification that we can make changes to the grant and get an extension. And in terms of sustainability, meeting the needs of people that require assistance for accessibility purposes. Options before council. Option 1, proceed with installing a lift at Desert Park only by tendering a more cost-effective unit. Proceed with installing a platform lift at the Sun Bowl Arena only. Proceed with installing a lift at both Desert Park and the Sun Bowl Arena. Proceed with installing a platform lift at the Sun Bowl Arena and include a lift for Desert Park in the 2020 budget. Number 5, defer the project and complete at a later time. Or 6, abandon this project. And staff is recommending option number 4. If council wishes to proceed with this project, staff will have to make adjustments to the grant by applying for an extension or for a new grant. The project is currently in our 2019 capital budget and will need to be addressed once a decision is made.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. That was a lot of work that you put in dealing with this, so I appreciate it. Did you have something to say, Councillor Bennett?
Thank you, Mayor McCarthy. I'd like to move option number 4. We spent a lot of times in the arena upstairs at the hockey games of the Coyotes, and basically we were sitting there the other day and you look and you wonder, there's figure skating, there's hockey, minor hockey. There's got a lot of people that are in wheelchairs that have grandkids and kids, so they want to watch the Coyotes that can't do that currently, and I think this is a good win-win situation for both parties.
Good, thank you. Councillor King?
Talking about that before.
Thank you very much. And go ahead, Councillor Harvey.
The budget for 2020, that's the same as what we were talking about, the assistance to the airport. That is, it would go on the 5-year capital plan, but it would still come
Yes.
up.
That's right,
Yeah.
that's right.
So it's just for visibility.
Yep.
Yes.
Well, that's for financial planning.
Financial planning
Yeah.
and visibility, because we'll see it.
So, I certainly can support this as well. I think it was a very nice compromise that you've come up with, and I think it's a win-win for both. So I totally agree. So the option is, or the recommendation is, that we go with option number 4. All in favor?
I'm in favor.
Thank you very much.
You've obviously identified a location.
Yes, we had somebody there.
Okay, next is the
On the backside?
Yeah.
we okay, general net payroll and Sun Bowl Arena financial accounts. And this is to report on expenditures from accounts payable for council approval and payroll information for council to receive. So the general cash requirements as of February the 19th, 2019 are $282,734.86, and Sun Bowl cash requirements of $25,792.08, and those are both by consensus, and net payroll accounts of $82,888.38, and that is for receipt for information. So thank you, and I see that we have a summary of building permits, and how surprised are we that there aren't any for the month of January, though it was too cold. Why would anybody want to do this at this time?
Have no fear, they're in the process.
I absolutely assume that they will be in the process now as soon as the weather warms up. So do we need to approve this report even though there's nothing on there? Okay, could we have a motion,
So
please, to receive that report?
I'll second that.
Thank you very much. You can pick two of them. Oh, I see, we've got 12,000 for, general contracting. Sorry, I missed that one totally. Age-friendly, accessibility and age-friendly committee. Mr. Davis, you were there, also Mr. King, and I have to say that I assumed that we already had the age-friendly designation. As a matter of fact, I told the mayor of Karamias that we did, and he was arguing with me, and so I don't want anybody to tell him that we don't have it, because he will give me a bad time. So is there anything on here that you'd like to speak to on this committee report?
Not specifically, but I would like to let the council know that we have made the application to our age-friendly program, which was done last, I believe, August or September.
Yes.
So it will be coming forward, and I have confirmation from that. So for 2019, I think there was only 2 other communities along with us. And I can't remember the other 2 communities, but we are definitely on there.
Good.
Yeah.
So we can expect it to happen.
Yeah, I think there
Because I
has...
got an email the other day about this, and that's why I assumed it was...
Yeah, they get I think there's an announcement at UBCM,
Oh,
but I'm not sure, because I don't go.
That's not till September, so.
Oh, okay, so maybe that was last
okay.
year.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor King, there wasn't anything on there. Looks like you're dealing with the minutes on here, you're dealing with several different issues, and the committee seems to be working well. Am I correct?
Yeah, there's some great discussion.
Good. Thank you very much. And so we need to have the minutes received and filed. Councillor Bennett, Councillor King, all in favor. Thank you.
I'm in favor.
Thank you. And next is the CAO report.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. Starting first in community services, a few of the activities that we've been involved in. Deadline for community services grant, again, a reminder, February 22nd. So the invitations have been sent out for the volunteer appreciation event, and this year it'll be held on April 6th at the Sonora Center, and it'll be changed to a breakfast festivity. Staff attended a seminar in Penticton at the Seniors Drop-In Center to discuss the regional approach to community-based seniors services. With the town having an accessibility age-friendly committee in place, we have taken steps to meet the needs of seniors in our community and will be part of the future discussions regionally. The 2019 Spring Leisure Guide will be is out to print very shortly. Registration for spring programs will start on March 13th. Recently held a wood carving workshop for children and adults. Registration was much better for this session than the fall. A Family Day event was held at the Sun Bowl Arena. We were pleased to receive a grant for $1,000 from the British Columbia Recreation Parks Association, and there were about 150 participants there. And they are planning new activities for the spring break. In terms of corporate services, working on several human resources policies and procedures, which Council actually dealt with today. Also, other human resources issues being dealt with include job description, temporary placements during absences, and reporting forms. The clerical relief position has been shortlisted, and interviews are being conducted, and hiring is expected this week. And meetings with the emergency services manager from the RDOS and the town operations center services to discuss preparedness for any flooding that may occur in 2019. Too early to determine, but we are going to be a little more prepared this year. In 2018, municipal tickets have now been concluded. The ones that have remained unpaid have to be sent to the collections. In terms of finance, continue to prepare for the audit. Planning and development, planned and facilitated the Resort Municipality Strategic Planning Workshop. Public Works, we had to do some plowing and sanding, repaired a water leak on 91st Street, initiated repairs to the Marina washroom, and then issued tenders for intersection improvements on Highway 3 and 70th Avenue and Jasmine Drive and 32nd Avenue. line painting, and Cottonwood Park Street light replacement. Myself, I met with the fire department to discuss the fire department master plan, completed and submitted the BC Bike grant for off-highway trail from Lakeshore Drive to Cottonwood. That grant is for $162,000. Attended the resort municipality strategic planning process, had a meeting with labor management to review the policies, and also responded to grant application information requirements for the child care facility. That's my report for today.
Thank you, Mr. Emenko. Could we have a motion to receive the report, please? Councillor King, Councillor Harvey, all in favor. Thank you.
I'm in favor.
And now we'll go on to councillor reports. Councillor Harvey, you're first.
So since the last meeting, I attended the RMI strategic planning session, which was quite interesting, and there was a presentation from Kara Burton at the library on the plans for the museum. And tomorrow I have my inaugural library board meeting.
Good. Well, you'll enjoy that. Yeah. Good. Thank you. Councillor Bennett.
I also attended the RMI meetings, then the museum presentation as well, and then the school board meeting, education meeting on February 13th. That was kind of interesting because they had Mark, who was a speaker, and basically, instead of just talking about grades, and now they got 4 pillars and students. It seems like a really good program where they get up and they actually look at not just the grades, but they also look at some of the stuff like their, I got to read this here, create positive experience opportunities. They can bring individuals, they can go back, and a child that's saying grade 7 that doesn't look like he's going to pass, they start working in grade 7, they go all the way back to grade 4, and they look at his social, they look at all his different skills levels, and they can, by the time grade 12 comes, they can bring those kids back over into the passing grades by looking at it individually instead of just your pass or fail. So it was really interesting to see, and they talked a lot of about the different programs they're doing to do that. So the big thing for the school board is to give the teachers the tools, because the teachers have to learn a new role now totally of how they grade the kids. So it was really interesting.
Good. You know, as a teacher, we've gone round and round this, and we've tried every one of those different ones, and all it does is come back to one that was tried 20 years ago, and they say it's a new procedure.
This has a bigger name.
Yeah, different name. So I'm glad that you're attending those and the school board meetings. Thank you, because I think that's so important for us to have somebody there. Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Member Cordoff. I have nothing to report. I'll donate my time to Councilman King. He can do the cleanup on it.
Thank you. Councillor King.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Also attended the RMI meeting with Mayor and staff last week, and there was also about 15-20 people from the public to get new ideas on how we can allot the money going forward. So I think it was a great day and a lot of good ideas coming forward.
Good. Thank you. Yes, we were all there, plus some of our staff and several people in the community, so that was a very productive day. I just wanted to say congratulations to the Osoyoos Adams hockey team. They came second place, I believe, down at a big conference or meetings down in Langley this weekend, and they were in the final game, but they came second. So well done, and I know that the Adams tournament is on in Osoyoos in the middle of March, so I'm sure that they're looking forward to that. I also want to thank the basketball, Casey Brower and Amanda Gergen, who organized boys and girls basketball tournament here this weekend. They did an amazing job. I managed to get to one game of the boys and one of the girls. I understand that they've had a great deal of response at how interesting it was, fun for all of the kids and the coaches. And I just want to thank Casey and Amanda for doing such a great job there. And the boys came in second. So that was very good, too. And I think I mentioned earlier that I had been to the Desert Center talks. There are 3 more of them. They're excellent. I would advise you on a Saturday afternoon, if you've got the time between 2 and 4. There's one this Saturday on bighorn sheep, I think it is, and then there's 2 in the month of March. They're well worth it, and they're extremely interesting. And I know that we've had a very cold month. There's been lots of snow, so I just wanted to say that on the news the other day in Vancouver, I heard about a group called Snow Angels. And I thought, what a good idea. Snow Angels will go out and volunteers, of course, which is what we have here, and they volunteer to shovel sidewalks and help people who are maybe not able to shovel their sidewalks or help getting out of their driveway. So I thought, what an interesting thought, and please help your neighbors or help somebody else if you're able to and you see them having some difficulty. And the other thing is that I have been thinking about the issue of plowing sidewalks. It was brought to my attention that there were sidewalks plowed. I said, what? Of course they're not. Everybody has to plow their own sidewalk. Well, then I started walking around town and in many places, and I'm absolutely amazed at what a great job our public works staff does in getting out those little bobcats and plowing sidewalks. Not just roads do they plow, but there are many sidewalks in this town that are cleaned off by our public works guys. And I say, well done, but nobody came to volunteer to do my sidewalk. I don't have one, that's why. Anyway, I just want to say thank you to everybody. Please help each other. Enjoy winter, but we are planning on having spring soon. But I understand that we could have snow again today. That was in the forecast. So drive safely and enjoy winter. Thank you very much, everyone. And could we have a motion to adjourn, please? Councillor Bennett, Councillor Harvey, all in favor. Thank you. And Councillor